1493324. For SMS and WhatsApp only, you can send to 0705 864 2473. Slowly, 0705 864 2473. Like we said earlier, also, please ensure to turn down the volume of your radio set to avoid a holdback. Make your contributions short and straight to the point so that our guests can respond to them as well. So, straight to the business of the day now. Mr. Zakari, a committee comprising the organized labor and government was set up to look into the increase in tariff of electricity late last year. What is the situation with the committee at the moment?
Good morning again. We've continued to try to engage the labor centers in a very constructive manner. Our labor leaders are Nigerians. They're very patriotic Nigerians, and they want what's best for the country. And they had engaged the federal government sometime late last year to try to understand better and express concern about the engagement in terms of the dual changes in pricing mechanism for PMS, so premium motor spirit, as well as the electricity tariff. And unfortunately, those two changes came together, and there was a feeling that those may be difficult on Nigerians. The government, this government, President Muhammadu Buhari's government, is not one to create a situation where there's a lack of understanding. So we engaged into a discussion with organized labor in relation to both topics. The electricity tariff specifically, I'm the secretary of that committee.
Okay.
Through that engagement, which we started in September, we've made significant progress. We initially had a mandate for 2 weeks. That mandate returned with some adjustments in the mechanism for pricing that labor agreed upon with us. And then subsequent to that, we set up an expanded committee, which was supposed to complete its deliberations with an extended scope of December. We now pushed that to end of January, as because of COVID, the scope for that engagement involved some travel, and one of our members actually contracted COVID in that process. But essentially, the scope of work was to assess the implementation of what we refer to as the service-based tariff, which was, we continue to say, Nigerians should view it as a change in method for tariff rather than an increase, because essentially what that service-based tariff says, those that are receiving power for significant hours of the day and are happy with their quality of power should pay the right price for power. But those Nigerians that specifically are receiving less than 12 hours a day in band D and E we should experience no increase in power price until the distribution companies improve their service. And it was a graduated scale. The band A individuals who get 20 to 24 hours pay the highest. Band B, which is 16 to 20, pay slightly lower. And then band C pay a lower amount still. And then band D and E have been frozen. And the only way for a distribution company to make changes to their tariff is to improve their quality of service. President Buhari mandated that for band D and E, that subsidies should continue. So the band D and E population, which make up about 55% of our citizens on the grid, actually have experienced no increase in tariff. Okay. And the government subsidizes them fully to the rate that was in existence since 2016.
So does it mean Band D and E don't get several hours of the day of power supply?
Essentially, it was to recognize the reality of our power situation. There's no need pasting over it and to claim that everyone gets adequate supply. The current status is a number of citizens are not happy with their supply, and we did not feel as a government, as if it was just and fair for them to experience a hike. You may recall there were some announcements in March of last year that everyone would experience a hike. When it was reviewed by the president through engagements with the House of the legislative arms, so the Senate and the House, it was determined that we need to ensure that in this difficult time, those that are getting service should pay, and the limited funds that the government has should be focused on subsidizing those that are not getting quality of service, many of them in areas that have more economic challenges. So I give you an example. Gwagwalada, for instance, or Kuje, or in my state of Jigawa, Hadeja, or Kazauri, Negatari, all these areas are on Band D and E, and they continue to be subsidized. There's no increase in their tariff, and that freeze continues into this year. We've told the discos, if you want to get more revenue from these individuals, make them happy.
Have more power.
Yes.
All right, that's good to hear. Now, while efforts are on to find solution to the issue, are Nigerians still paying the previous charges or the new tariff? That's just a follow-up to what you said.
Yes.
Presently, I know there are negotiations going on.
Yes.
So what happens to the tariff?
So as of September,
Because some Nigerians are saying nothing is changing, it's the same thing going on.
yes, I think there's a lot of miscommunication, which is partly why every time I'm given an opportunity, like with Radio Nigeria today, I try to attend, to clarify. So what started in September of 2020 was this service-based tariff. It was implemented in September. At that juncture, the Band D and E members, who are about 55% of the population on the grid, had their tariffs frozen to the subsisting rate, so they experienced no increase. But people in Band A, B, and C, they experienced an increase. That was in September. Now, if you recall, in October, we went into these discussions with labor, and to create an environment for proper deliberation, the federal government suspended the implementation of that tariff throughout October. So everybody, including A, B, and C, everybody went back to the old tariff, which was in existence prior to September and since 2016. Now, after that, when we finished our first scope of work with labor, it was agreed that the VAT in the sector that the government hitherto was taking should be given back to the citizens. So there was an additional reduction on the September rates of 10% for Band A, 10.5% for Band B, and then an additional 30% for Band C. That reduction was on the increase, and then Band D and E remained. So it went up, and then it was suspended, and then it went back to the suspended rate, but it was slightly reduced. And that is the regime that we've been in. In January, there was some back and forth, because as you know, the committee with labor was supposed to conclude its work in December. And there was a clock that was set that said if we didn't conclude the work, we should revert to the process. But labor expressed displeasure, and as I've said, federal government is not out to do any policies that are unclear to Nigerians or are not well thought through. So we said to labor, okay, even the changes in January, we've further suspended them until we conclude our deliberation.
So is there a possibility for us to go back to the old tariff, so to speak, or and even if we do, is there a possibility for refund for those or who paid higher at the times we had some of the negotiations going?
So I think what we should understand as Nigerians is that this concept of a service-based tariff is here to stay. It was in our communique with the labor centers, even when we continued the discussion. So what we are looking to do and what the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission is doing is to say, if, for instance, the distribution companies have put a citizen in band A, and we monitor that feeder, and for a period of 2 months, we notice that what they committed to the consumers, they are not able to achieve, they will be forced to bring that feeder and the consumers to a lower level and refund what they charged, up until the point that they can prove that they'll do it. But as I said, for our citizens in band D and E, no changes have happened. They remain where they are. And you can realize we had to take these very difficult decisions because in an environment where government revenues have reduced by more than 60%, it is unjust, it is unfair for us to say that an individual in Ikoyi or Maitama that is enjoying 24 hours of power and is also 10 ACs, maybe big houses, that we should allow him to pay the same rate as somebody in Gwagwalada in a 2-bedroom flat that is receiving epileptic power. Because you can realize if you subsidize everyone the same, the person that consumes more energy will eat more of the subsidy. So with the little resources that government had, given the economic challenges, we thought it would be more prudent to ensure that those that have more need, we keep the resources we have and subsidize them. So the concept of everybody's tariff has gone up, sometimes it gets reported in the news, it is incorrect and inaccurate. Everyone that is below 12 hours band D and E, it remains on their old tariff and objectives so that they can improve the supply over time. And to the extent that they are not, they will face sanctions.
Okay. Now, let's look at an overview of the nation's power sector. What is the current power generation and distribution capacity of the entire country, especially with government's focus on job creation and economic sustainability plan of the Buhari administration?
Yeah. So this is a topic that is very near and dear to the President's heart. As you may have known, even as of March last year, Mr. President had asked that there be a number of initiatives that be reviewed by the Power Sector Reform Working Group, which is led by His Excellency the Vice President. And what we continue to do through the leadership of His Excellency the Vice President, while he updates the President periodically, is review the state of affairs of the power sector. And that group is quite cohesive. The Minister of Power is very active in that group. We have the Minister of Finance, the Central Bank Governor, and there's even participation from the states with the Governor of Kaduna being on that committee. I'm the secretary for that Power Sector Reform Working Group as well. And your question around what is it that is the overview of the sector? As you know, in addition to the Power Sector Reform Working Group, initially there's also a Presidential Power Initiative that is more based on infrastructure, specifically partnering with Siemens to look at making us get more power. So you can look at one hand, the Power Sector Reform Working Group which includes the Vice President, the Chief of Staff, Governor of Kaduna, the Ministers of Power and Finance, and the Central Bank Governor. On one hand is looking at reforms and policy, and then you have the Presidential Power Initiative with Siemens that is looking at infrastructure. Where we are is we have this situation where we've invested heavily in generation over the years. So actually, Nigeria is not a generation poor country. Installed capacity of turbines, be it hydro or gas, collectively, we have about 15,000 megawatts, with line of sight up to 20,000 megawatts or more. And that is already on the ground. What we struggle with is transmission capacity, which is estimated to be somewhere around 7,500 megawatts, and also distribution capacity. Now, which is about 5,500 megawatts is the peak we've done.
So sometimes generation does not necessarily mean distribution will be at the same
Yes,
capacity.
I think for many years our policy, and this is not from the Buhari administration, our policy has been to think we need more generation. And we increased our generation capacity by thousands of percent, from maybe 3,000 megawatts all the way up to where we are at almost 20,000 that we have line of sight for. But what we did not do at the same time was invest in transmission, and the distribution segment also struggled, particularly because we privatized it to investors, and some of the challenges have been government on one side has had agreements with them that we've struggled to meet, and they on the other side have also not met their commitments. So we're in the process of ensuring that everybody meets their commitments, and we're heavily investing as a government in ensuring that we adjust and bring up the distribution and transmission capacity to be able to take all the power. So I would say to Nigerians, it's not totally a bad situation, in that if we're able to fix the transmission and distribution, at least the generation units are there to produce the power. So that's why with the Presidential Power Initiative, some of the interventions with the World Bank and AFDB, what we're doing with the support of the Central Bank Governor and the banks in terms of emergency funding for distribution and transmission, we strongly believe we will begin to meet that gap as to where we'll be on a very clean trajectory to get to transmit and distribute all of our capacity that can be generated. And the Power Minister continues to maintain that that is the focus, and that is the marching orders that we all have from Mr. President.
All right, let's quickly talk about the issue of infrastructure once again, especially amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. I know, throughout the globe, there were setbacks last year in every sector globally. However, what is the level of progress on ongoing projects, especially in this sector in the country? What are we expecting to see?
Many of us continue to say that this administration is doing more with less. The price of crude globally, which is our mainstay, has been at a low rate, whereas some administrations we had northwards of $100 per barrel. You see we've been at times even lower than $30 per barrel. But despite that, this administration has continued to massively use the limited resources to do infrastructure. As you know, the Abuja-Kaduna line obviously is active. We completed it from what we inherited. We've used creative mechanisms to speed up the progress on the second Niger Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the Abuja-Kano Expressway. There are multiple initiatives ongoing to concession roads by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. The President had announced that we will hear very good news on infrastructure financing very soon with the work that is being driven by the Central Bank, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, NSIA, and the Africa Finance Corporation on setting up the largest infrastructure financing company in Africa. So we continue to do more with less. Some ministries, if you take the Ministry of Water, many projects had never been commissioned. And, Kashimbila and many others that were delayed. This government has focused on closing those out. So there's still some time to go in the administration. Nigerians will continue to see investment and focus. And as I said, you can't do everything just by waiting for your budget to come in and then you spend the money. This administration is coming up with very creative and ingenious methods to finance infrastructure, because with a growing population like Nigeria, if we fix the power issues, which we're on a good path to, and we continue to invest in infrastructure, we can catalyze our youth and employment numbers so that we'll continue to see very high growth rates into the future to sustain our population.
All right, if you're just joining us, the program is Have Your Say, coming to you.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
All right, thanks for staying with us. The program is Have Your Say, coming to you live on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Today, our guest is the Special Advisor to the President on Infrastructure, that is Mr. Ahmad Rufai Zakari. And he's speaking of efforts by the federal government in tackling electricity tariff issues in the country. Like we announced earlier, our phone lines are open so that you can join the conversation and give your contributions and ask questions as well. Back to you now, Mr. Zakari. Where are we on the free metering project of the federal government through the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC? What's the situation on the ground?
I think the progress is stable. But we need to accelerate. The process that we've embarked on, and since the privatization of the sector in 2013, 2014, Nigerians have been expressing concerns about the transparency of billing for electricity. Many of us have continued to say that as well as the President has said, if one is not metered, it becomes very difficult for them to know that they're paying the right rate. Estimated billing, crazy bills, etc., is something that we hear from Nigerians. So for the first time since the privatization, government has now made a pledge to Nigerians that before the end of this administration, every Nigerian that doesn't have a meter will have a meter. The era of charging citizens for meters is over. It is something that is part of the equipment that is needed for the power sector. So if a distribution company provides you a meter, that should be part of their own costs. So what we've done thus far is we created a mechanism. The money is not free to the discos. They're private companies and they're there to make profit, so government cannot give them free money. But we've said that in terms of our agreements with them, they must meter people. But given the liquidity challenges we've had in the past in the sector, and we continue to try to mitigate, there's challenges in them getting the finances to meter everyone. So the Central Bank of Nigeria has taken the lead in facilitating financing through many measures, so that a distribution company will come and take a loan, give meters to Nigerians at no charge, and then make their money back through the charges that they come from the electricity market. So, so far about 15 billion naira has been disbursed, and about 250,000 meters plus have already been acquired through that program. We target to distribute another 750,000. The distribution companies will do that over the next few months. And then our metering gap in the country is 6 million in terms of people with households or consumers without meters. Obviously, in a house, you may have 5 citizens. So that will impact the lives of about 30 million Nigerians. But we also know that there's 4 million meters that people have that are in bad shape that need to be replaced. They will also, yes, in addition. So our gap is 6 million no meters that we're reducing. You see 250,000 is a big number out of that. And then another 4 million that will be replaced. But the great thing is when the Central Bank of Nigeria crafted the program, they insisted that only local manufacturers will participate, which is great for us in Nigeria. It will create jobs, and we already see that some of our big meter manufacturers like Mojek, Momas, Prodigy, MCon, all across the country, they're ramping up their capacity, they're hiring people, they're installing meters. Even that labor committee that we had, we went to Ogun to visit Momas. We were very impressed with the training he was doing and the more people that he was hiring.
So how soon do we expect to start seeing meters manufactured here?
Meters are being manufactured here now.
Okay.
So we visited Momas and Mojek, and they're in active manufacturing, even Prodigy, right, and a few other big meter manufacturers.
But are they in use yet? Do we have them in circulation?
So the 250,000 that we have acquired thus far have come from a mix of meters that had already been imported on the ground and those that were manufactured.
Okay.
So for instance, I know that Abuja Disco took a delivery about 40,000 meters from Mojek, and Mojek manufactures all its meters locally. So this is a very good thing. We think it will create thousands of jobs. And as I said, 1 million is the first tranche. We'll finish getting those out in the next few months, and then we'll work with the distribution companies on a plan for the rest of the 5 million. But if you recall, the major problem has been having the money to buy the meters to distribute. Government has solved that by giving concessionary lending to the discos.
Okay.
The money is only paid directly to the meter manufacturer, not to the discos, and then the meters are delivered by local manufacturers. And lastly, installation jobs will be created. Even in my state, in Jigawa, I know about 20 individuals that were flown out to Lagos, trained by Momas. You know, out of 300 that he trained, they were now sent back to their locations, and they've gotten jobs as meter installers. So we get manufacturing jobs and installation jobs as well.
Okay. So how about, some will say that a more technical aspect of power distribution will be transformers now. Are we also looking at the possibility of having them manufactured locally in Nigeria? How about that aspect?
We do have some local manufacturers for transformers, and because there has not been as of yet any program to boost out that, there's no clear mandate outside of the mandate that the regulator has set for local content. But we think that through this effort of increased investment in the sector, and we already have lined up more than $2 billion for investment in the distribution sector. It will create many jobs, and it will provide many opportunities for our local manufacturers.
Okay. All right, that's good to hear. Okay, I wish to, at this time, apologize to our contributors. The lines announced earlier seem to have some challenges beyond our control. So we have a new line so that you can contribute on the program. The line to call, 0809 126 7830. Once again, 0809 126 7830. Slowly, 0809 126 7830. I'll try and announce this number as much as I can so that those who are used to the other numbers will now just call it and contribute on the program. So now back to you. There seemed to have been a time where there were face-off, if you permit me to say, between some regulatory bodies in the system like NEMSA and NERC. Are you looking into this area? Is it not going to affect the end user at the end, some of this face-off? And what does the law or the act establishing these bodies say about their various roles?
So this is a great question, and the president in his wisdom recognized that better coordination in the sector was what was needed. So the mandate to the Minister of Power has been to ensure that there's a harmonious working relationship between all of the agencies that make up the power sector. But you'll also understand that through the 2005 Electric Power Sector Reform Act, it really created a privatized entity or a privatized sector. The power sector became one with many different players. And once you don't have those players working together, problems happen. So the Power Minister has been very clear on ensuring that his team and the organs under the ministry work together. But as I mentioned, with the Power Sector Reform Working Group, having all the key players on the same page has really helped us in terms of ensuring that everybody is working at the same length. So I'd say that the main reason we've had the progress we've had is everybody has been on the same page, from CBN to the Ministry of Finance to Power. Everybody is marching to the same tunes, and the great thing is with having Governor El Rufai also on that committee, it also ensures that the subnationals are being brought into the discussion and also provide their insight.
All right, once again, the number to call to be part of the program is 0809 126 7830. Don't forget, slowly, 0809 126 7830, so that you can join in the conversation. While we await our callers, let's still talk about... Okay, good morning.
Yeah,
yes,
good morning.
Hello, yes, good morning.
Hello, yeah, good morning. My name is Chief Fidel Onyeneke, and I'm calling from Owerri in Imo State. I want to appreciate what the guest there is saying, especially efforts being made by the government to ensure that some of these facilities get to the electricity consumers as stipulated by the government. But unfortunately, the situation is not what the government plans. When you go to the rural areas and even some states, that is why there is need for effective monitoring. For instance, in spite of the electricity supply in different parts of the country, people are still billed based on estimation. And this is very, very wrong. Also, the meters are not available. Even when you said that tariffs should be reduced, people are still being exploited. Because when you go, they give you bill. You pay for even electricity you did not consume. And you have nobody to complain to. Now, the issue of prepaid meters are not available. Go to the state capitals, go to rural areas, you will not get them. Even when you see them, they will call huge amount of money for you to pay. But the most disheartening is the situation where in a town, in the same town, city, they will tell you that some people will be getting electricity on regular basis, that they are what they call the federal line. While others on the other line, who also pay electricity, are not being given electricity, are not given power. They say that those on the federal line are paid some extra money, that they are expected to pay some extra money. That is exploitation. Everything should be equitably distributed to get to all Nigerians. Above all, let there be effective distribution of electricity in different parts of the country. That is the only way we can ensure suitable power and enhance our socio-economic development. Thank you and God bless you. I'm Fidel Onyense.
All right. Thank you, Fidel. Let's see if we can take more calls, then we'll come back to you. Hello? Hello? Hello, good morning. Who can, okay, he knows that. You can react to that.
Yes. So I think that caller, I think it was Mr. Stephen, Fidel,
Okay.
very great questions and contribution. What I would say is, if you think about our rural areas, which he brought up, one of the main problems has been we have always had a power sector that was focused on urban areas, and the Rural Electrification Agency that had a mandate to work with the rural areas prior to this administration was just involved in extension of lines.
Okay, let's quickly check this call and we'll continue. Just hold your thoughts. Hello?
Yes.
Hello, yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Location. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. Just the last caller I just said. There is differences between section A, B, C, and D and E. I think the gap is too much.
Right.
In the section D and E, they may not be having light. Sometimes they don't have that, because I believe that's the group I belong to. Then they will come and request for B. They will give you B almost 10,000, 15,000, and they don't give light.
Okay.
And we talk about this meter, whether to pay or not.
Hello,
They say they are distributing. If they will not give to any of us, we still, up to now, we are still expecting. Nobody give to us. So I'm still begging the federal government to please to send good agents, so that this distribution of estimated B is to reach everybody. I mean the meter, yes, to reach everybody. They will just announce it, but it doesn't come to anybody. We've been expecting it for more than 2 years now.
2 years.
And when you say you want to go and buy in the house, they will tell you, say, 60,000, 70,000.
Which area
And
are
this
you?
is supposed to be free. I don't know, sir. So that's what I'm begging.
Which area are you, and your name, please? Hello? 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 Alright, oh dear. He had told us which area it is, so that we can at least make reference to the right quarters. Okay, hello? Hello, let's see if we can take one or two more calls. Hello? Don't forget the line to call 0809 126
Good morning.
7830. Yes,
Yeah,
good
my
morning.
name of course is Chief Jude Umaja.
Good morning,
I'm
sir.
calling from Imo State. Well, precisely. Yes, I want to say that power, they say, is the engine room that drives the scientific, political, and industrial development of any country. And everything and anything must humanly be done in order to ensure that it is made available to Nigerians at an uninterrupted level and at the cheapest possible price, so that at least our industrialists mainly and others can use it to produce goods and services at reduced prices for domestic and export purposes, and earn income for the country and themselves, that will help us in coming out of the present recession we are finding ourselves now. I therefore enjoin the federal government to declare a state of emergency in our power sector in the country and replace the present power companies who are more interested with making profits at the expense of Nigerian consumers by demanding for increase in the electricity tariff every time, and still charging people based on expected billing system instead of providing them with a prepaid meters as they were asked to do. I enjoin the federal, state, and even the local government to actually encourage our scientists and engineers to brainstorm and come out with ways of generating electricity from other sources like sun, waste, and others, so that we will have electricity supply in abundance.
Hello? Okay. I think he had made his point. We need for there to be more investment and brainstorming in the sector. Okay. Hello? Alright, before that, let's quickly go to our social media platform before we now hear from our guest. Or do we have a caller? Hello? Hello? Okay. Yes, from our social media platform, we have Mustafa from Abuja. He says, Without gainsaying, the Buhari Oshibajo administration is performing wonderfully well in improving our infrastructural development from rail, aviation, seaports, road to improve electricity supply. However, please, what is the latest update concerning the distribution of prepaid meters FG promised to Nigerians? Are they ready? And power companies are not complying with capping regulation which Mr. President instructed. Please use your good office to see to this and resolve, as some households do not have prepaid still suffer from this exorbitant charge. Capping, I'm sure you've noted the contributions made. But first, let's finish with the messages, then we take calls. Hello? Are you there?
Hello?
Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Hello, yes, go ahead. Go ahead very quickly.
I am Private Shitu.
Your name and location. Okay, Private Shitu.
Interestingly, I am calling from Ijebu.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I want to appreciate the resource person on the program seriously. And let me also appreciate Radio Nigeria for this fantastic program.
Thank you, sir.
The information we have been given this morning is definitely going to carry away so much pain from the hearts of Nigerians. So, Madam, thank you very much for this information. But there is other thing we need you to do for us as Nigerians. Because like Oliver Twist, we are asking for more. We buy the poles, we buy the transformers, we buy the wires, and yet IBDC will come and claim dominance over it. What are you planning to do in that perspective? What are you planning to do to assist IBDC and to assist us so that we will stop buying, and maybe IBDC is the one so responsible for providing those things for us, as it was in the days of the ECN and in the days of NEPA. Good morning, Madam. Thank you. Good work in Nigeria.
Prime Minister, our guest has a soothing voice. That's why you're assuming it's a madam. It's actually a sir. He's a sir. He's a man. He's even wearing an agbada, a babariga. Okay, yes, let's quickly finish from our social media, and we'll have Adeoye Ade from Lube here in Abuja. It says, good morning. The table used included no number of hours of supply. However, for prepaid meter users will have paid at a rate of 20 hours or more, when the supply was not forthcoming as obtainable in some parts of Abuja in the last 2 weeks with less than 12 hours. Wow, there are technicalities here he's using. Then using number of hours of supply is a fraud. That's what he's saying. Do you understand what he's saying? I think he meant the table used in...
No, I understand. His question is that when, if you know, I explained the monitoring and the time it takes to push back the rates. So I understand the question.
Okay. All right, then Abimbola from Abuja, also here from Abuja, says, since the back and forth of the tariff hike, the rate at which the units are disappearing is way worse than before. 1K unit previously amounted to about 75 units, and it was used up slowly. But now 1K gives you 19 units, and in less than 3 days, it's finished. 5K unit gives, that's 5,000, gives even last till a month. And I'm at work most days of the week with all appliances off. Please, these discos are making things hard for Nigerians. What can be done? Who can monitor them? What parameters are they using to zap these units? Thank you. Yes, over to our caller. Yes, good morning.
Well, in different shows for different shows. For me, in my area, the light has improved.
Your name and
we are those receiving above